In this video, we're going to take a look at a green ink by Diamine, a part of their 150th anniversary series, Dark Forest. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the green ink playlist, so if you want to see more green, you can find that there. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. We get no feather, spread, halo sheen. We do get shading, not in the stub, but it shows itself in the extra fine, and it shows itself quite nicely in the medium. The extra fine's a lot lighter than the stub, while the medium's just a little bit lighter than the stub. Extra fine took 14 seconds to dry, and the medium took 22. Scrubby for both give no color variation, although it's definitely there in the writing, and the smear test you stand a pretty decent chance of recovering if you smear while you're writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Retro 51 Tornado with a broad nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. We have no bleeding, very minor ghosting, no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade, though the extra fine's a lot lighter than the stub. The medium's darker than the extra fine, but nowhere near as dark as the stub. Extra fine took 22 seconds to dry, while the medium took 32. Scrubby for both gave us no color variation, and there wasn't in the writing. In the smear test, you could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And I was not expecting this. The blue at the bottom starts forming a line very quickly and starts pushing it up, and then we get a very dark green at the top. I was not expecting the blue and the green together. The one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's put into water. A lot more of that blue has settled in as a line bonding with the paper. As the blue pushes up, it's going much slower, giving a more even coverage, showing its bonding as it's going. The green itself is moving slower, showing some bonding as it's moving, but I expect the green to move and the blue to be a little bit of a hangout color. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. We get no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shading at all in the writing. I was kind of surprised here. The extra fine's a lot lighter than the stub, and the medium was the same tone as the stub. The extra fine took 16 seconds to dry, while the medium took 23. Scrubby for both gave no tone variation. I was really expecting to be able to get some, and I'm not. The smear test says you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink could be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, there's a lot of blurriness that goes on here. A lot of that green is moving. And while all the information's protected, you could use it in a note-taking situation. Personally, I wouldn't. Now, water is lifting a great deal of the green and some of the blue that's there. It's really doing much better than I expected in getting rid of this ink. Pen Flush is doing nothing more than water did, and the 1/3 bleach solution destroys it. But it only took water to get this out of my pen. The next writing sample is done on yellow Rhodia paper. It was really the blue aspect in the chromatography that made me want to see this on yellow and see if it had any kind of actual effect. And it is. It's lighter all the way through. When you look at the stub, I'm hoping it looks like it's coming through on camera. It's lighter, much more pleasant to look at here. On the extra fine, this is the greatest tone this ink is giving, in my opinion. It's not a bad ink, but this is its nicest tone. Even the medium's much nicer. Now, it's not a problem that you would have to use green ink in a professional environment. I don't think too many people do that. but I use yellow paper a lot for work, and I like these greens much better than these greens. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, and the realm of normal was 2.1 to 2.9. Diamine's Dark Forest has a viscosity of 2.73, so it's normal. The next writing sample is done on White Lines paper. This is a paper that I just like using because it allows me to quickly take photos of all of the notes that I've taken and archive those so if somebody needed them. I don't expect to be able to use the back of the page, and largely I couldn't, but none of this touched the next page, so it's not corrupting things on me. Now when we're looking at it, it's performing much better than the back would make you to expect. We have no feathering, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The medium's lighter than the stub, and the extra fine's lighter than the medium. The extra fine took 5 seconds to dry, while medium took 7. Scrubby for both, gave no color variation, and there was none in the writing. And the smear test, you stand a pretty decent chance of recovery if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, and the realm of normal was 13 to 21 seconds. Diamine's Dark Forest had an average dry time of 22 seconds, so it does take a little bit longer to dry than normal. The last writing sample is done on P. Berger paper. Now I'm not going to beat this paper up. All of this bleeding spots that are happening, none of them touch the page underneath, which is great. You can't use the back of the page, but it's French ruled, so it's not set up for you to use the back of the page. We have feathering that's going on in the stub. We have some feathering that's going on in the medium, no feathering in the extra fine. The extra fine's a lot lighter than the stub, and the medium's only a little bit darker than the extra fine. No spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine took 5 seconds to dry, and the medium took 10. Scrubby for both gave no color variation. We didn't get it in the writing. In a smear test, you probably could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Diamine's Dark Forest, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I do like putting orange with greens. This is a very dark green, so it needed a very lively orange. And I went with Krishna's orange. Now, if you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those playlists. So what do I think of Diamine's 150th anniversary Dark Forest? That single bug on camera here has lived for days. This is a very dark green that is far darker than I prefer. It's not for me, but it still shows some of that greenish, greenitity. It shows through no matter how dark it gets. It doesn't look black. This is actually very nice to use. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? Now, I'm not a fan of these super dark greens, although it always maintains being green. I would prefer to use a dry fine or a dry medium to lighten that tone up just a bit, although the tone is, or the green in its dark is very nice. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video we're going to take a look at Platinum Red.